Once you've configured your WinCC project to talk to your process by adding drivers and creating tags, the next step is to build some graphic screens. Here we have a graphic screen that we wish to build. Let's take a look at the functionality. We have a tank, some pumps, a couple of toggle buttons, an information area, and a slider. We'd like to use the slider to simulate our process data by changing the fill level in our tank. Note that when the fill level is low, it appears blue, medium ranges are green, and higher ranges are red. This gives good feedback to the operator. For our pump 99 and pump 100, we'd like to have some toggle buttons that turn the power off and on. We'd like the pumps to be red when off and green when on. In our information area, we'd like an I/O field where we can directly enter data into the process. We'd also like a text description of the state of our pumps 99 and 100. Let's take a look at the steps that it took to build this screen. The first step in creating graphics in a WinCC project is to open the WinCC Explorer application. From here, choose the Graphics Designer Editor, right-click, and choose New Picture. A new picture object will pop into the right-hand pane. We need to rename this, so we'll right-click it and choose Rename Picture, and we'll give it the name Process, and press OK. Now we need to open this blank picture in our Graphics Designer Editor and begin building our page. We can do this directly from WinCC Explorer by right-clicking on the picture and choosing Open Picture. Once the picture is open in our Graphics Designer Editor, we can size the picture by right-clicking in the blank gray space and choosing Properties. Under Properties, I can choose the Properties tab, Geometry. I can give it a picture width of 645 pixels and a height of 540. The next step will be to open our library and add some objects. Once you've created your blank screen in Graphics Designer and sized it appropriately, the next step is to open the library and add some objects. Under View, choose Library. Here we have our library window. I can expand our global library and begin selecting the objects I need. For our process screen, under Displays Windows, I'll grab a small window for our information area. Under the Operations menu, I'll choose a toggle button. Under the Plant Elements area, I'll choose Pipes. I'll also choose some pumps and a tank. Next, we'll use these objects to lay out our picture and then add some functionality. I'll close the library and we'll begin laying out the picture. Now that we have some of the objects that we need, we can begin laying out the picture roughly in the pattern that we want. If I need more than one object, I can use the right-click Duplicate functionality. I can use my arrangement tools to change how objects are positioned using Rotate or Mirror. Here I'll just flip horizontally my pipe to make it fit where I want. I can also use my direction arrows to precisely place the objects on the screen where I need them. Now that I have these objects where I want them, I need to open up the object palette and get the rest of the objects palette has the rest of the objects that we need. We have standard objects that are primitive drawing objects, smart objects or objects with specific functionality, and Windows types objects. From the standard objects, I'll choose a line, and I'll also choose a static text to build our labels. From smart objects, I'll choose an I/O field. From our Windows objects, I'll choose a slider. Now we'll lay these objects out on the screen. It's my slider. Now I'll set the properties on my labels. I'll choose a font size of 18, and I'll set the alignments to be centered, and I'll make labels for all my objects. It's P99, and I'll make P100, Tank 100, and then I'll begin filling in my data area. Here I'll make a header, and I'll change the color with my color palette. Next, I'd like to make this header bold, so I'll go back to my Properties dialog, and under Text I'll choose Bold. Then I'll duplicate the labels that I have in my process. Pump 99, Bump 100, and Tank 100. I can make these all the same size by selecting them and using my alignment palette at the bottom. Then I'll use my arrow keys to place them, and I'll also resize my I/O field to be the same size as my text fields. I'll bring my I/O field up, and I'll set the properties on it as well. Under Font, I'll choose a font size of 18, and I'll also center it. I'll set my data format to be decimal and an integer type format. Next, I'll duplicate my I/O field, now for my lines. I'll take the Properties dialog on my line and set it to have a line weight of 5 and a line end style to have an arrow. I can use my arrangement palette to flip it either horizontally or vertically, and my color palette to change the color. And I'll use my cursor keys to position it. Now we have all our objects, and we're ready to attach tags. Now that I have my screen laid out, it's time to attach some tags to some of my objects. I'll start with my I/O field, which is going to reflect the value in my tank. I'll right-click this object and choose Properties, and I'll go down to the property that I'd like to attach it to. I'll go down to my property topic, Output Input, and choose my output value attribute or property, and right-click on the clear light bulb symbol and choose Tag. My tag browser will be displayed, and I can choose any tag I want. I've previously created my Tank 100 tag, so I'll choose it and press OK. Now you can see my tag named Tank 100 is mapped directly to my output value property of the I/O field. Also notice that it's bold, as well as the name of this object is now bold in my objects listing. This allows me to quickly find all the objects on this page that have a tag connection associated with them. Next, I'll put in my push pin, which keeps my Properties dialog open as I change between objects. Next, I'll choose my tank, and for my properties under Tag Assignment, I'd like to associate the same tag, Tank 100, to the fill level. So I'll right-click, choose Tag, then Tank 100, and press OK. Now you can see I've associated the same tag, Tank 100, to my fill level property. Lastly, I'd like to attach this tag to my slider. I'll choose the slider. This time I'll choose my Miscellaneous Properties topic and a property called Process Driver Connection. I'll right-click on the dynamic, choose Tag, choose Tank 100, and press OK. Now I'd like to test these 3 tag connections in runtime, so I'll clear my Properties dialog and save the page, and then go to Runtime using File, Runtime. In Runtime, you can see if I enter values directly into my I/O field that it will change the fill level of the tank and also the process driver position on my slider. Likewise, if I move my slider, both my I/O field and my tank update. So our connection is successful. The next operation that we'll do is add dynamics to the tanks and the pumps. Sometimes a simple tag connection is not enough. For instance, on our tank object, we'd like the fill level to change colors based on different ranges that we configure for the process value. We'd also like pumps 99 and 100 to change color based on whether or not power is on or off. Lastly, we'd like our I/O fields to read on or off depending on which state they're in. Let's see how to configure this. First, the tank. We'll right-click and choose Properties. Remember that we have our Tank 100 tag mapped directly to our fill level property. We'll use this same tag to manipulate our color. We go to the property we'd like to manipulate, right-click on the dynamic, and choose Dynamic Dialog. For our expression, we'll just simply look at the tag that manipulates our fill level, or Tank 100. Then we'll choose a data type of Analog, and we'll add a couple of levels. I double-click and set the first range to be at values up to 20, and double-click and select blue. Next, between 20 and 80, I'll double-click my color and select green. I'll leave my other at red as a default, and then press Apply. Now let's check this in runtime. I'll clear my Properties dialog, choose File, Save, and then go to Runtime by choosing File, Runtime. Note that currently our value is at 17 and it's blue. It will remain blue until it passes 20 and then it'll go to green. As it rises above 80, the color will change to red. Now let's configure the pumps. In Graphics Designer, on the toggle button, see that we have the binary tag Pump 99 attached to our toggle bit property. When the button is toggled, Pump 99 will change between values of 0 and 1. Now we'll go to our pump object and go to the color property we'd like to manipulate, or background color. I'll right-click, choose Dynamic Dialog, and for my expression, I'll look at the tag Pump 99. Next, I'll choose a data type of Boolean. Yes and true is the same as a 1 in a binary tag, so for that state we'd like it to appear green. No or false is the same as a 0, so we'd like it to appear red in this case. Now for the I/O field. We'll access the properties and go down to our output input. Under data format, we'll configure this for string, and we'll set our static output value to say on. Next, we'll attach a dynamic, right-click, Dynamic Dialog. We'll have it look at the same tag, Pump 99, and press OK. We'll choose a Boolean data type, and if it's yes or true, we'll have it say on. For no or false, we'll configure it to read off, and then press Apply. We can use the same procedure to configure Pump 100's dynamics. Now let's test this in runtime. We'll save our changes, go to Runtime, and you can see as we turn power off to 99, the pump goes red and we have an indication of off. Likewise in Pump 100. Now we've successfully built a process screen. Our next steps will be to add alarms, trends, and a navigation page.